Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I have the lovely Yebhe with me. You guys might remember her from the video I did on being a model in LA.
Yes.
Um,
Hey
s-
guys.
so today we're actually going to talk about is being a model worth it? Because a lot of people have the idea that once you become a model, your life is like all glitz and glamour. You're traveling all over the world and making tons of money. So we're going to give you a real life expectation of what it's like to be a model. All right, so a lot of people have this perception that once you become a model, you're making tons of money.
Yeah.
You're traveling all over the world, doing
lie.
shows and back-to-back campaigns and whatnot. So, what has your experience been like? How do people perceive you as a model?
Well, people definitely think that I am a full-time model, which is not true. I have so many different side hustles because I have to pay my bills. So definitely like going to casting calls, it's all fun and glitz and glam, but at the same time it's also like really hard because you may not get the top bookings, you're not going to have a lot of money. You're going to have to like break your neck to be seen because it's such an oversaturated world.
Another thing that people don't realize is that to become a model, there's actually a lot of investment that you have to make on your own. That's time commitment, that's financial commitment, and things like that. I know for male models don't get a lot of free photo shoots because we're just not that interesting to shoot. So you have to pay for your own photo shoots. You have to pay for your headshots, get your com cards printed, and things like that. And they could be quite expensive. What has your experience been?
So for me, when I first started, it was more so just spending money on your starter pack for being a model, like going to MAC and getting foundations, getting concealers, getting eyebrow stuff and things like that. And then when it comes to headshots, I personally have never really paid for headshots. I've always had like a friend or somebody do that, and but I do hear that people pay about like between $200 to $400. I wouldn't pay for that. I would just get a friend to take some regular shots of you next to a white wall because that's how you start. But I've heard it's pretty expensive.
And that also reminds me as well, we often have to pay for going to castings, right? And going
Yes.
to bookings, especially when you're just starting out and you're trying to build up your
Yeah.
book and get some experience.
Exactly.
You're traveling, you're going on road trips, you're paying for parking and things like that.
Getting tickets.
Exactly. Do you want to talk about that
Oh
experience?
yes. So when I first started modeling, actually, I ended up. It was like an African model fashion show. Actually, I lived in Columbus, Ohio, and I drove from Columbus, Ohio, and I dragged my sister. So shout outs to my sister D-Day. Dragged my sister all the way to Maryland. I got a flat tire. Like it was in the middle of winter time. It's crazy. I ended up getting a ticket, but I did it just to be able to walk in the show, and I don't regret it because it actually gave me exposure. I got to meet some really dope designers, like, and I was just eager. Like, it was like when you're hungry for something, you just kind of go for it, you know?
So this is kind of like the commitment that we're talking about that people don't realize is that you're investing a lot of your time. You're sacrificing maybe your education or your
Yeah.
job or whatever. You're driving just to get to a casting. But is it really worth it? Like how much do modeling jobs pay? So I know from my experience being a model, there's a huge difference between being a model and then being a supermodel. The
Yeah.
pay scale is like
Or an influence model. Now, because Instagram's such a thing, it's like you can be an influencer model, but you're not a real model.
yeah, exactly.
No shade.
So the pay scale that I've seen is like drastically different, right?
Yeah.
So if you're just a model, I've seen runway shows, and here's another thing: a lot of people want to do runway. That's like what they dream about doing when they think about becoming a model. But actually,
It ain't it.
actually runway pays the least out of compared to like print, doing campaigns and photo shoots and things. Runway pays the least. I've seen top runway shows pay anywhere from like $500, $600, $800 on the high scale. And that's like New York Fashion Week,
Yes.
And then you also have to keep in mind, agencies do take out a commission.
Okay, so agency fees with me, I've definitely witnessed like 15 to 20%. 15 if you're lucky, but they always take it off the top. So you always have to read what you get because like he said, print and commercial, it's where the money's at. You're not going to get a bag trying to be a runway model because it's not really, there's no bag there. But if you do get a job that's like $5,000, just make sure you remember you get not $5,000.
So for example, I was signed to an agency here in LA, but I'm no longer represented by them. But there was a job that I did 5 years ago that kind of got renewed.
Oh yes, so they do that again. If you get picked up for a campaign, you'll maybe get a campaign for like 6 months, and they'll run your ads. They'll, you'll either do social media or you'll do actual print, but they'll like maybe rebook you again.
Yeah,
which is what he's talking about.
So basically, a job that I did about 5 years ago got renewed, and then my old agency, they called me and said, "Hey, we have a check for you because this print shoot that you did a couple of years ago got renewed." So when I got there, I was so excited to get my paycheck, right? Because it's like a check that you weren't expecting. But when I looked at the check, I was like, "What the?"
Like, what are these fees that are
like,
deducted?
what the hell?
Minus.
So basically, they took out the 20% commission, of course, but they also took out a web fee, and then they back charged it 3 years. So they took out 3 years of web fees, and the web fee is usually like $150. So they back charged me for 3 years, and I was like, I was not happy once I got that check.
And you couldn't say anything?
I mean, that's just how they work.
Read your contract.
In the contract.
Know if you have a back fee or something, because they will take your money. Because that's the thing about castings as well. You don't get your money. Your agent gets your money, and then they send you after they deducted their fees.
And another thing too that I'm trying to figure out is like why it takes so long to get your check. Like, for example, I did a job back in November, like early November, and I still haven't been paid. Like, I'm sure my agency has a check, but they still haven't paid me. And this is February, right?
And that's why we freelance. That's why you freelance until, like, you really have an agent that's bat for you, I feel like, which is really good with him because he's been with a couple different agencies and they've booked them jobs and he's gotten it, but then at the same time he knows that he has to put in his own work. He has to land his own castings because your agent's not going to do everything for you, nor is your agency, because they have 1,000,001 people. And unless you're like an Instagram celebrity, they're not going to look at you for real.
So another thing is that I've seen a lot of models who are younger, maybe coming out of high school or just getting into college, kind of put school aside because they need to focus on modeling. And that's another thing when I mentioned about the time commitments. When I first started modeling, my agent at the time, she wanted me to go to New York and get a lot of work, but I was in school and I didn't want to put school aside. So because of that, I feel like I missed out on a lot of opportunities. Did you have to put school aside, or how has that experience been for you?
There was definitely times where I did have to maybe skip class because I needed to go to a casting, or I didn't want to miss an opportunity. So I really think it's within yourself. But I do know that if you do let your casting agents know, or if you let your agency know that you have school, and you might not get as many jobs because they have to work around the schedule. Being a model is being available 24 hours of the day. You know what I mean? It's about being able to book a job the night before, but you may have class the next day. You may have a test, so you have to have that conversation with yourself because it's all about you when it comes to this.
Exactly. A lot of times, my agent, they send me on castings on short notice. Like, they call me or they send me an email the night before, like, hey, can you make this casting tomorrow?
I've gotten it the day of. Like, hey, it's in a couple hours. Do you think you can swing by? Like.
And guess what? You have to be available, because if you're not, someone who's available is going to get the job, right? So
exactly.
In this business, it's all about opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of people wonder, can you make a living being just a model? And I would like to say that, if you're a supermodel, which a lot of models aren't, if you're a supermodel, you can definitely make a living being just a model. But if you're an everyday model, no, you can't.
Modeling hasn't funded my life in LA. I've definitely had side hustles because it's a full-time job and you're not going to get every booking. You're not going to be shooting every single day. But at the end of the day, you're chasing your dreams, so it makes it worth it, I would say your hustle is what's gonna give you, it's what's gonna make you more money. It's more so exposing yourself. It's wanting to shoot every single day, going to castings as much as you can. Also, making sure you take the time to actually practice for your castings, because I know that's something where I've been going to castings and they ask you to smile with your face and don't smile. Just these different things that I was like, didn't really know what I was doing, and that's probably why I didn't get the role, and I should have. So taking time for yourself and making sure you perfect your craft so that you can start making money and you can live off of it.
I'll say modeling is actually, it's a good way for students to make some side income, or it's just like a good side hustle, but I think
confidence booster.
The joy of being a model is also just seeing your work out there and seeing people appreciate you. And I also think that it's a stepping stone career, you know,
Yeah.
like it's something that you do for a while and then use that to kind of like get into something else. So
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of models kind of like turn actors and then start an acting career. Or I've seen models become designers or
For
become,
ADs, I became an AD off of just literally doing a photo shoot, and then they called me one day like, "Hey, you want to be a PA?" And I'm like, "A PA? Hell yeah, why not?"
exactly. And then I've also seen models open their own agencies and become agents as well
Yeah.
and have a successful career doing that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, one of the agencies that I'm signed with is owned and operated by a former model herself. So that's a good thing. So I think modeling is really a stepping stone career.
Yeah.
It's something to do for a little bit and then
if you are an influencer and you're like your numbers go crazy on Instagram, you're definitely going to be able to make a living off of like being a model, because you're not just a model, you're an influencer. So you have models who are making thousands of dollars, but that once again is based on your hustle or the people that you meet and what your content is. So modeling isn't just about your face anymore. It's more so you as a person, your brand, like that whole package.
That's a really
But
good
yeah,
point. That's a really good point. I think like if you're a model and you're a smart model, it's all about using the leverage, right?
Yeah.
So going to castings, getting jobs, doing runway, doing print, and then building your personal brand.
Yes.
Having a portfolio website, building up your Instagram, becoming more than just a model, being an
Yes.
influencer.
Being a brand.
That helps a lot. That helps in terms of like making a living off of modeling.
Because that's what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but if you're just a model going on castings, going on a job here and there, you're not going to make a living. It's more going to be like a side hustle.
It's gonna be sad. It's gonna be a sad life.
So, is being a model worth it? What would you say?
Hell yeah. I love being a model. I love it. I mean, everything about it is really amazing. I think it's one of my biggest dreams to see my face on billboards everywhere and everything that I've worked for. So I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I would agree on that point. I think being a model is definitely worth it. There's a joy you get from just like being creative and then seeing your work being appreciated and
Yes.
seeing your work in different places. I think it's awesome. You know, it's a thrill. Also getting to collaborate and meet with other creatives as well.
Yes.
I think that's
Ding,
one of the
ding, ding.
joys of becoming a model. Like I met Yebhe at a fashion show.
My first ever fashion show, by the way.
And since then we've been friends. So, you know, I think it's one of the things that makes it worth it. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys like this video, if you learned anything new, give us a thumbs up. Always appreciate it. I'm going to leave links to Yebhe's Instagram page down below. She's also going to be starting a YouTube channel,
Yes.
which I'm going to be helping her with very
It's
soon.
been years,
So-
but we're gonna do it.
So once that's up, be sure to check it out. I'm going to leave links as well. Don't forget to subscribe and drop us a
Subscribe.
question if you guys have it. See you guys in my next one.
All right, thank you.